bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, 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 down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What you feel like? Freedom. What you feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
There's only one way to be independent. There's only one way to be free. It's not something that someone gives to you. It's something that you take. Nobody can give you independence. Nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you equality or justice or anything. If you're a man, you take it. If you can't take it, you don't deserve it. Nobody can give it to you. I'm for anybody who's for freedom. I'm for anybody who's for justice. I'm for anybody who's for equality. I'm not for anybody who tells me to sit around and wait for mine.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Happy day after
Super Tuesday.
Well, happy day after Super Tuesday. Happy day after St. Patty's Day. Happy Wednesday. Happy another day of
happy third day of being quarantined.
Right? There you go. Day number what?
Three. Day number three.
Day number three.
Day number 3. Oh. Hey, listen, Vincent. Vincent was astute. You guys can't see. Vincent can see my shirt. I'm going to stand up to let you all know, Vincent, am I in complete attire today?
Oh, yeah, he's got the official ADOS shirt.
There we go.
Established 1619.
There we go. That's who I am.
You should put a logo on the back saying we want reparations.
Oh, no, you know what? Somebody made that suggestion. On the back, it's going to say hashtag tangibles. Hashtag tangibles. ADOS, established 1619, hashtag tangibles. Right. So we stay focused. We stay on code. Anyway, listen, we got a lot to, do we have a lot to talk about?
We got plenty to talk about.
We had a lot to talk about on the pre-show.
We got to tune them into the pre-show, right?
Yes.
But listen, guys, the COVID-19 is real. It's here. I went out yesterday to go visit some of my clients. And I know Diane. Diane's so concerned about me. Diane, listen, I had a mask on, but this is a tissue, but I actually had a mask on, so I was good, and I had gloves on and the whole bit. So I was as covered as I could be. And then when I got home, I washed my hands all the way up to my elbows, and I sang the happy birthday song twice. Okay? But here's what I saw when I was out there. People are already hurting. Businesses are already hurting. People are already hurting. A couple of my clients, and I'm in the hospitality space, working with some clients, delivering products as well as providing marketing and advertising services to them. And they're all small. Some of them are new. Some of them are within that year. And remember, I talked to you. I said most businesses within the first year, 80% of them fail. And within that 5-year period, 50% of all new businesses will fail. And so anybody who started a new business, not only did they have whatever those normal hurdles are, they now have what may prove to be an insurmountable obstacle, and that is called COVID-19. And in talking to some of them yesterday, and Diane, we talked about this in the pre-show, don't give up. This is where if you put your money into your business, you have to make an additional investment in your business now. And that additional investment is to innovate. It is to market, and it is to find a differentiator between you and your competitors so that you stand out and that you fill a need that exists now. And that requires innovation. Those who do not innovate will die.
Being that you're a marketing person, I had a call yesterday from, because I do insurance.
You know what?
So
Let's take Diane, and I want you to ask your question. But guys, listen, 908-481-5499. I will provide you, if you call, if you have questions, if you put them in the feed, Diane, if you'll read them, if you're a small business during this time and you want some advice, please ask. I'll spend some time giving that to you. Go ahead, Diane.
Okay, so great. So that's what I was leading into. I have a client. My client does staffing. A lot of her employees that she places, her clients that she places in different temporary jobs are doing hospitality. So she was so concerned about, one, what's going to happen with her clients. Is she going to lose her contract? Will she be able to replace these employees elsewhere? And what should she do? Now, she's also a franchise. So her particular franchise, she told me, didn't really give her much guidance as to what to do or to even how to talk to her employees about how to move forward, whether we're going to go online working or whatever that may be. But what do you suggest for a staffing company? And this is what I told her, same thing that you had said before, that you have to think outside the box and maybe target different types of businesses. So later on yesterday afternoon, she called me back, thanked me for the advice, and she had several people call her, different companies that now need people to be staffed to do janitorial services.
Right. So the first thing that I would do is this. If you're a staffing company, that already means that you have contacts, right? That means that you don't have to do the work that some other people have to do in terms of generating leads. You've already done that work. The question is, where is there crossover, right? So whatever positions you're currently staffing for, what other skill sets do those people have? Where could they cross over? And then look in that hospitality space, if that's where you are, and see what other kinds of things might exist in that hospitality space where there is crossover. And then you want to find out from all of the folks who you're staffing, their availability to fill those crossover positions, and then leverage your relationships. See, that is the big time, because she's got those relationships. See, if I try to go into where she is right now, Diane, so you got a lot of people who are going to be losing their jobs, right? So let's say she has a call list of 50 companies. That's her call list. She should have been developing relationships, personal relationships with those people in that 50 number call list. Now is the best time to lean on that relationship, right? So there's a barrier of entry that I can't overcome because I have not developed that same kind of relationship that she has. So leverage the relationship, look for crossover, right? In terms of skill set, and then find out the availability of the people who you're staffing to want to fulfill that, and then move forward. Now, what I will say though, which is very important, because you're leveraging a relationship, those people crossing over have to have a commitment of excellence, right? Because they're now going to be moving into positions that they've not done before. And they're going to be doing it on the basis of your friends' relationships, right? And so her brand is going to be in jeopardy if those people do not perform excellently. And so there has to be a partnership now where her staff understands that she's now going to go out above and beyond on a limb for them. And they have to be willing to do the same thing in return.
So, Diane, if I could, let me be the black interpreter for those who have not matriculated with an MBA of Business and Marketing and Management.
Uh-oh, here we go.
You've got to network to get work, but if someone is networking with you, make sure that they are at a standard because your name is on the line for the people that you refer. So, if Johnny just decides that, at the age of 36, his dream of being a professional video game player has not matriculated and he wants to get into a position, you might want to check his work ethic before referring him to some of your friends because they may look down upon you. Like the girl who introduces her girlfriend to this guy and he turns out to be a creep.
Okay.
Yeah, that same level of excellence is needed because once again, not only is he a person getting work, but in you referring, he is now a representation of you, and you don't want your friends that you developed that relationship with to think badly of you.
But you know what though? This speaks to branding, right? It speaks to reputation. It speaks to networking. All of those kinds of things, and. See, I always have to revert back to who I am, right?
This is the rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. This is the rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the people. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the
Talk about somebody getting corrections.
Hey guys.
Woo!
So listen, guys. We're back live. And I'm not sure how long we're going to be live. We're having some technical issues, right? Some of them we're realizing may have to do with the broadcasting software, the content that we're delivering, and Facebook. And that may be why we're being interrupted. Anyway, Diane is asking that everybody go to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Because I think that it's inevitable that at some point we're just going to be YouTube live because being interrupted by Facebook like this, and the continuity of what we're trying to discuss doesn't work for what we're trying to do. Anyway, please hit the share button. Let everybody know that we're back. Where were we? You guys can go and look previously the last 20 minutes and see what we talked about before we were interrupted, and we're just going to pick up from there. We were talking about businesses that are being impacted by COVID-19. And one of the things that I was saying before we were interrupted was our brand, right? Not just the brand of a particular business, but as I always say, if America has a cold, foundational Black Americans have pneumonia. And so when we're looking at how to move into another space and reinvent ourselves in this time of crises, one of the things, believe me, that people are looking at is how you're represented, right? And as unfortunate as it is what they do. And so I've always said on this show, what is our brand? What is our brand as foundational Black Americans? How do they see us? How do we see ourselves? Because now, as a group, sometimes you're going out into the market space looking for a job, right? So they see Eric, but they don't just see me as an individual. They may, whether you like it or not, they're lumping Eric in to a class of people. and they're saying Eric is a black guy. So when I'm coming and I'm sitting down, they have already drawn some conclusions about who I am based on what our group brand is. And that's why I say we're on a team. It's not an individual sport. We're on a team. And so when you talk about hard workers, when you talk about conscientious workers, when you talk about all those kinds of things, the question is, where do we sit on that totem pole when we as a team or as a member of a team is going out there looking for a job?
Well, where we sit, it depends upon the person on the other side of the table. Now, there are people you may look up and find a man of color or a ADOS, but even those at a higher level have a level of prejudice against another black person sitting across from them. So where we sit based on the interpretation of that person and how they feel. One of the things that in the 80s, I used to own a recruiting firm. When we had applicants come in, and sitting back and talking to them, I'd, listen to their interview and then give them some feedback so that when they go before the person who's actually going to hire them, that they would be presentable. One of the things it's the oldest cliche in the world. You never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Right, but what I'm talking about, Vincent, is this, and maybe, I was long-winded in what I was trying to say. If we look, within our own group of people, you hear us talk about how difficult it is to work with black folks, how irresponsible they can be, how they're not tardy. They're tardy, they're not on time, they're not consistent, they don't follow through. These are conversations that we have amongst ourselves about black folk. The question is whether or not that is true. See, all I'm saying is we have all had those kinds of conversations. Now, those conversations travel far outside of the black community into other communities. And so when we look in this society and say, well, how do they see us? Right? How have we represented ourselves? Well, now, in this time where people can be climbing over each other trying to find whatever job they can find, because they're concerned right now about the unemployment rate rising to 20%.
So what do you do if you're sitting in a situation where you have been in hospitality, work for a diner? Because I went to a diner yesterday, and they told me that they were closing for 2 weeks. And I said, why are you closing for 2 weeks? And they said, well, the governor said that we have to shut down. So misinformation on how people are interpreting the information. I talked to a client of mine who has a bar, and he's shutting down, and he also does takeout food. So he's going to convert his business to takeout only for the food. And of course, he can't sell liquor and stuff like that.
Right, but here's the challenge with the takeout, Diane. And I'm gonna tell anybody who's looking at doing takeout, if you're a restaurant, and this is my marketing hat I'm putting on again. If your customer base, if you look and say that let's say 80% of your revenue was from people who were sitting in, you now trying to convert them into a customer who takes out is going to be difficult. Because if they're a customer who takes out, they're taking out from other places. They like to come to your place to sit in, but they're taking out from other places, right? The place that's doing that job is doing it well already. And you're going to have to spend a tremendous amount of revenue, right, and time trying to retrain your customers.
Yes.
So think about it. So when we're talking about our local bars, our local watering holes in the hood, these are people that are doing food on a regular and are doing sit-down drinks and all of that. And many of these places, we just talked about it last week, Eric, about going to a place just to get the Portuguese fish and leaving. And I've done that at many bars because the food is good there to go get takeout and go home with it.
Right.
So for some of them, it's not going to be a big transition. For those people who don't have that big transition, with your marketing hat on, what would you suggest to them to ramp up their business? What should they be doing let people know that they're still in business, and trying to, service the community.
Right.
But one of the biggest things, one of the biggest business tools in terms of marketing has always been word of mouth. Now, for people like the Speakeasy or local watering holes, or even some of them who are, kind of black market dealing, their business has survived and their clientele list hasn't shrunk because they're, have a strong customer base. And all of that comes from word of mouth, branding, representation, and the transference of appreciation by vocal. I'm doing my matriculating thing like Eric, but the other thing that you have to look at, if someone has an actual reputable business with licenses and everything else, they have to look at following the government guidelines. Where a person who has an underground establishment, or is into their hustle of entrepreneurship, where they are moving past that, they may very well say, hey, look, this virus ain't gonna stop me, I'm gonna go do my thing. And the person who has, the brick and mortar type business with, all the licenses, bells and whistles, tax paying establishment, they have to walk a very close line. When the government says, okay, you're going to have to shut down for 2 weeks, then either they have that level of creativity that says that, we're going to do the word of mouth, call some people, Facebook, YouTube it, Instagram it, whatever, to bring the people back in to say that we're going to be here, we're just going to be doing the drive-through rather than the other, or they simply shut down.
Right.
It is just that simple. But then you have to look at one important fact that I want to add in there for those who are doing the underground, business.
No, we're not talking about underground.
No.
We're talking about
okay.
Right. What I would say, Diane, is this: real simple, right? You're not trying in this market. You're not trying to. You're not looking at profits, right? It's kind of like if you were caught in a what do they call it? A riptide, right? If you were caught in a riptide, they tell you you're not trying to swim to the shoreline. You're trying to swim parallel to the shoreline, right? So you're not trying. All you're trying to do is survive, right? Until the riptide is over, and then you can swim to safety. So you're not trying to earn a profit. You're just trying not to go under. And so to that extent, if you've got to slice your prices, right, and reduce your margins to drive people into your store, then that's what you need to do, right? So if you got product where you're getting, say, 60% margin, slice that down and maybe you're only getting 20% margin, right? But you're alive. That is the thing, right? Because once you go under, trying to restart a business is going to be very, very difficult, if damn near impossible, right? You've got your brand, you've got everything, you've got your location, you've already invested in all of that. And so what I'm saying is this: if you've got to do BOGOs, what we call buy one, get one free, if you got to do half offs, if you got to do those kinds of things, you've got to look at the competitive landscape, right? And you got to see what other people are doing. I was at one of my clients yesterday, and he was saying to me, well, places like Golden Wings or places like Ambassador is doing well because, they're charging very little for their chicken. I said, okay, I got it. I said, so maybe now what you do is limit your menu, right? You don't have all of those. I hear reverb. Caller, please put your thing on mute. But limit your menu now. Maybe you can't have that exhaustive menu anymore. Trim it down to something and things that are affordable, things that are fast, things that give you a better return on what you're spending. You're not going to be selling filet mignon. You're not going to be selling whole snap or broiled. That's not going to happen right now.
And the other thing that's huge and important for you, if you have a diner or a bistro, DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber. So just basically, Uber Eats. It has been quite effective for a a lot of people. And in fact, Uber is now looking for more people, as many as some other service industries. They are looking for people to handle the demand. As this virus ramps up, because we're only at the volunteer level of states shutting down, and they're only doing it on a 2-week trial, which some of the experts say may not be enough. So this may go longer. And if you want your business to actually thrive or survive, you're going to need that creativity to get your food to the customers. So, drop out window where they come in or something, sterile. But most important to remember, if you do not have a credit card or debit card machine, you are putting yourself just as much at risk of catching diseases. In fact, you're increasing your chance of catching the disease, because the coronavirus, just like any of the pneumococcal, it can last 3 to 5 hours on money.
Okay, we have a caller. Just so people know, Eric is giving marketing tips for business owners to help you during this coronavirus time, to kind of help you revamp or look at different ways to stay afloat. Go ahead, caller.
Today, social media is probably the most important part of letting people know that your business is out there and still functioning. Now, there are different techniques to get your products to people, like how Vincent said, the DoorDash and so forth. But if you're a bar, your social media page and how you manage that is possibly the most important thing you can do in today's situation to let people know what you're doing and what you're not doing at your business.
Agreed.
It's like the number one thing right now. Like, you can virtually, because remember, just about everybody has one of the 3 major social media accounts, right? They either have a Twitter, they have a Facebook, or they have an Instagram. So just about any customer you have in any business, right, has one of those. So if that's the case, as long as you can reach your customers from one of them, you're all right.
Right, but here's part of the challenge with that, Farrakhan, is you have to understand that that Facebook has moved to a paid algorithm for the most part, right? So you can post the things that you want to post on there, if we're talking about Facebook, and probably Instagram to some extent too. If you post things up there, your entire audience isn't seeing them. And what I would say is this: if that were the case, these businesses would be using these Facebook pages and doing robust businesses now. You have sponsored ads that are going up now on social media, where people are now spending big dollars because they're doing exactly what you're saying. But I'm talking about a small business owner who did not set aside a marketing budget.
Tell everyone to stand and shout loud, shout loud, shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down, down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
nation. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise
Accountability
together.
starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Yes.
forget that. All right.
I think we have audio now. You know what, guys? We can't go back. And
We
I
could
don't know
do
how.
a repeat. We'll do a recap.
Yeah,
Calm
we're gonna
down.
have to recap this
Everybody
whole.
give us a thumbs up. Let us know if you can hear us on Facebook and YouTube before we
Yeah,
move
we're
forward
gonna
one
have
more
to
time.
do. We're gonna have to do a recap on this whole show, but. What we were just talking about, and thanks, China, for calling in and let us know. We were talking about this $1,000 that Donald Trump is talking about putting in the hands of ordinary Americans. Diane, one of the things that I want to say to you is this: his main focus is, like Vincent said, to get reelected. Right now, beyond that. His focus is to ensure that the wealthy stay wealthy and that we stay the commodity to their wealth and to their power. That is how this thing is going. It's never about putting us in a position of power, economically or politically. And so when we look at the $1,000 that he's talking about giving us, firstly, I want to say is it's a distraction. Because he's saying, look, guys, I'm going to dangle this $1,000 over here for you. Meanwhile, I'm giving these guys all of this other money. So now you can't bitch and complain because I'm giving you some too. Right? It reminds me, Vincent, of that, what was his name? The Bugs Bunny. Remember Bugs Bunny where they were Elmer Fudd was counting the money. He said, one for you, one for me. Two for you, one, two for me.
Yes,
three for you,
exactly.
1, 2, 3 for me. And that's what he's doing, right? So
Politically, what this reminds me of is the Reagan era. Remember, unemployment was up. He cut welfare. People were starving, so he gave them that government surplus cheese.
yes.
That's all $1,000 is. It's government surplus
That's
cheese.
all it is, guys. And so, but now, if you believe, well, so I want to stay on the thing that you asked, Diane, about what would you spend the money on? What people should spend the money on, what they should be able to spend the money on, is whatever they want to spend it on. But if you don't create the safety net, they're going to be forced to spend it on rent. They're going to be forced to spend it on mortgages. They're going to be forced to spend it on car notes. They're going to be forced to spend it on credit card bills. Now, all of that money then just gets transferred back to those corporations. See,
Okay, wait a minute. Hold that point. Now, transfer to that.
Wait. Is your Facebook up on your end, Eric? Because I'm getting stuck over here, but YouTube is fine.
Facebook again?
Yeah,
no,
just
I'm
check
on Facebook. Nope, I'm
okay,
good.
it's going. Okay, because it's.
No, we're good. People are in the feed
Okay.
and they're saying stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, to add to your point, now, of that government cheese that we're getting, it's only 2 slices of the $1 trillion that he's giving to everybody else. Big businesses and corporations. Now, the economic stimulus of Obama was to put the money in the hands of the people, giving them some disposable income to boost sales production in the economy, which it did. The coronavirus stimulus is basically giving a little bit of money for a group of people who can't go out and spend it, but giving a lot of money to corporations who you're going to spend your money on anyway. It does not make sense. This is not good leadership. What this is a man. This is a man who is down 1 touchdown in 10 seconds in the game, and he throws up a Hail Mary.
Well, I don't think it's a Hail Mary. I think that, look, if you believe me when I say we're in hospice, right? That is what they've done. He's given us a transfusion. They don't want us to die, right? They know right now, if they don't give us a transfusion, we're going to die. So they're not going to give us, so they're going to give us this transfusion. It is not going to improve our circumstances. It's just going to keep the heartbeat going. right? And then
So he's giving us economic life support.
that's it. There you go. That's all it is. They're intubating us right
Well, that's
now.
what any stimulus package is given, is as a life support. It's just what you do with that money is what's going to help you. Some people just need a life support. Other people need more. Some people will get the $1,000 and won't need it. So everybody's situation is different. I mean, I posted on my Facebook page earlier about if you were given the $1,000, what would you do? Majority of the people stated that they would invest in stocks, because that's saying to me they don't need that $1,000 is not doing anything for them, and they won't miss it because they never had it. It's never been accounted for money, so it's okay for them to go ahead and invest that money. Some people would invest in their businesses. A couple of people said they would pay bills and buy groceries. So just the framework of how people respond lets you know the status of where they're at in the security at the current time.
Well, see, what I see it is, and the reason I said, a Hail Mary, because as far as Trump's election is concerned, it's over. He was the one that gutted the CDC, so that, under the Obama program, we have funding in place, and the entire package was in place to combat this. When it hit China, our group would have been there, but he gutted that to build a wall. His campaign is over. What he's trying to do is a Hail Mary, and here's the thing. $1,000 when the average American got $5,000 limit on their credit card. Really? Versus close to $1 billion for corporations. Cut it out. This is an economic stimulus. He's giving us cheese. Now, what you do with your $1,000, nobody knows. It is based on individuals. There are some individuals on Facebook saying the only thing some people are going to do with $1,000 is buy drugs. Really? $1,000. Hey, let me throw it in stock. Hey, I'm going to put it in my child's piggy bank. Look, like I said, you got the average credit card at $5,000. What is $1,000 truly going to do except what Eric said? Life support.
So basically, everybody's vying again for this presidential seat, and Sanders is talking about giving people $2,000. And other people said in the background that Cory Booker and other people were talking about $3,500 or $4,000. So a lot of numbers are going to be thrown out there. When the money is divvied out, or how if it ever gets into a person's hand, we'll talk about it then. But I don't think it's worth the discussion, because I don't think it's more than just a conversation. Here's how he's going to divvy it out.
Here is justified.
If he wanted to help, then put the money into the food program. Stop cutting people off of food stamps. Allow people to be able to go and to get food and stuff that they need, or allow people to go into the pension plan to reimburse people who have lost money, or go into wages and unemployment, directly feed into unemployment, so there would be money for people to be able to apply.
Or even extending the level of unemployment.
Yeah.
And breaking some of the restrictions on unemployment. See, this is what he's doing is not democratic socialism, okay? Because democratic socialism is about giving the money back to the people, giving the power back to the people, especially because the majority of the people are the ones who pay the most of the taxes. What he's doing is basically capitalism, socialism, or keeping capitalism afloat.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. So all of these other issues that have led to the various insecurities that 99% of Americans are currently dealing with, right? Whether we talk about food insecurity, we talk about insecurity because of debt, we talk about insecurity because of rents, that are not affordable. All of those insecurities are not being addressed. What's being addressed is the fact that if you don't put us on life support, right, we will perish, and then all of the dominoes will come toppling down. And they want to maintain all those industries. And so they need to infuse enough money so that we can continue to support the wealth and power of those industries. That is it. So trust me. What I say to you, in Washington, you have lobbyists that are representing those different industries, outnumbering our elected officials 5 or 6 to 1. So if you've got 400 plus congressmen and women, that means that you've got 2,400 lobbyists down there in Washington. And trust and believe, when they're sitting hammering out these numbers, they're giving this stuff to our elected officials, telling them what they need to do to support and advance the interests of those industries. It's nothing to do with us.
What this package is, it's not life support to the common man. It's life support to big business. To the common man, the life support that he's giving us is basically life support with a broken ventilator.
And look, what I want to say to people is this. We're still up on Facebook. Well, Facebook is doing some really crazy stuff. I opened up to be able to look at some of the algorithms right now, and I've got amazing Wi-Fi here. And it has my my frame rate down to 12, so I don't know what that's about. But go and check us out up on YouTube, because YouTube, I'm sure, is streaming properly. But you know, there's some real issues going on, guys. We as a people here are under full attack. Make no mistake about it. We're under attack by COVID-19, but COVID-19 exposed. It has exposed what the true interest of this government is. If you ever were in doubt, if you ever believed that this government, I hear whatever that noise is in the background, please mute. But you know, if you were ever in doubt and believed that you were at the center of the focus of this government, you know differently now. You realize now that this government's job is to protect the interests of Wall Street, protect the interests of all of these corporations, and if you perish in the meantime, so be it. That's what we are.
Here is the trickle down theory of the Trump administration. This economic, this business or corporation stimulus package is basically the same thing as the bailout that we've been experiencing for years. The bailout of big corporations. We bailed out the Savings and Loan Administration, but we didn't bail out the people who had these homes that were getting foreclosed on. It does not help the common people. This administration could care less about the common people. And I like to say this first time on the Eric Dawson show, I like to hear from Joe the plumber, who said that, oh yeah, Obama's going to help my business. Tell me now how you feel, Joe. Because it doesn't help. It does not help. It does not help the people. All it helps is corporations. Oh, there's a little stipend involved for small businesses. Yeah, that'll probably bring you up from 1,000 to 3,000. Oh, big freaking help there. It's a life support with a broken ventilator. That's all it is. It's a Hail Mary with a wide receiver with a bad leg. It's not going to work. American public should be smart enough to see through this bull crap of $1,000 when they got more than $5,000 on their credit card. They should be able to see through the bull crap of $1,000 when they have an average of $1,800 a month in bills. They can see the bull crap of $1,000 versus their family sitting up here starving watching Netflix and getting Uber Eats constantly. This is not helping. What he's trying to do is cover up for the bullcrap that he did.
What would your suggestion be? What would your suggestion be to fix what's going on now? Since you know what's not working, what do you suggest would be?
What suggest to be? First of all, let's take a more aggressive approach towards this virus. Look at what China did. Okay, they shut down everything. They did not fuel their businesses, because China basically owns their businesses in communism. But what they did was they fueled the people. It is the people who is the backbone of the government. It is the people who are the backbone of these corporations. If it wasn't for our dollars, they wouldn't be making billions. Fuel, feed the people. That's what government is supposed to do. That is democratic socialism. Doing for Americans what Americans can't do for themselves. Hell, if I could go back to work, $1,000 would be easy.
Right.
And $1,000 of Trump is pocket change. He probably got that on his dresser in the White House.
So here's the thing, Diane. You asked what needs to happen. What needs to happen is we need a government that is people focused.
Okay.
Right.
We know that.
Okay. Right. So that's it. And so.
No. Let's get into the weeds of it. What would work? What have you seen in the past?
Oh, no, listen, I'm explaining to you.
Diane,
Vincent, let me
to answer your question, here's the first thing that would work. Let's get a president that's going to tell us the truth.
Right. So Diane.
Second thing, let's now build hope on, one, getting test kits so we can get accurate numbers of who has it, so that we can capitalize, focus, and take a good target at minimizing those hot spots. Next thing that we need to do, we need the Army Corps of Engineers to set up makeshift hospitals. Tents, because the weather is getting warm, and one of these open parking lots, because all the malls are empty, and setting up some place where people can go, be in a specific area, and minimize their contact with other people. The next thing that we need to do, okay, is, kick the butts of these corporations we've been giving money to, these pharmaceutical groups who've been paying all these money to politicians who have been stalling everything, and get these people to get on their behind, these test kits out, get the cure happening, and get people healthy. Third thing that we need to do, and finally that we need to do, is a stimulus package that's not a smack in the face.
Right.
And what would the stimulus package
now
look
what
like?
I'm going to say to you is this. All of that is not, everything that Vincent said makes sense, but there's no foundation for it. And by that I mean, you don't have a government that works for you. So there's no foundation for it at all, right? And until you see, and so we are at the precipice, guys. To me, this is a blessing and a curse. And by that I mean, we have an opportunity to see in real time what's occurring when you don't have a government that has your interests at heart. So again, yes, everything that Vincent said is true and should happen. But there's not one congressman or woman, or very few, or senator, or very few, who really have the courage to do what Vincent said. Because they've been funded by these corporations that we need to be going against. So here's the time, right now, election time, where you can look and you can ask your representative to true up. Ask them, whose side are you on? What legislation do you stand behind? Who do you stand shoulder to shoulder with? And then I ask you the question, voter, then why would you vote for somebody who doesn't have your best interest at heart? See, we're not like mid-election cycle. We're right in the heart of it. We're right in the heart of it.
So stop right there, Eric.
Correct. And that's the whole point.
So what
go ahead.
Eric, is people need to pay attention more. And Vincent, I'm going to ask you when you're not speaking to mute your phone because you're always moving and it's noisy. Please, thank you. Eric, so what you're saying is people need to pay more attention to voting, who they're voting for. So I'm saying to you, as a uninformed voter, what is it I should be looking for based on what's happening now? The questions I need to be asking my local elected officials, because now I'm seeing that they don't have leadership skills and they don't know how to pull us out of an emergency, because we vote for them hoping that they can fix the problem we have on the local level. Now we see they can't do that. Now we're looking at things differently. What are specific things that we need to be addressing every single time we talk to an elected official so that we do not go backwards into this situation again?
Right. So the first thing I would say is this. If you don't do anything else, just vote the current people out of office. If you don't do anything else, you got to vote the current people out of office, because your circumstance, Vincent, please mute your phone, because your current circumstances are a direct result of them. The condition that you're in right now is a direct result of them. If they're sitting there talking to you about solutions, well, where were the solutions a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago? This didn't just happen. What you're dealing with was a buildup. It was misfeasance and malfeasance. Right? So they all need to go. That is step number one. Get rid of all of them.
Step one is whoever's in office now
Get
is
rid
a
of
part
them.
of the problem, and they need to go.
Listen, Diane.
So how do you decipher between an AOC who's doing the work and
Diane.
See, this is what I'm saying, because you're
okay, so I'll give you step number two. So now when you go to replace them, right, what we do know is this. If whoever you're looking to replace them with is getting money from corporations, if they're getting money from the Democratic Party, if they're getting money from the Republican Party, then they are as rotten as the people you're trying to kick out of office.
Okay, so what you're saying now is that whoever's running as a candidate for the position to fill, they should have independent funders, individuals, not corporations that are funding their campaign. Is that what you're saying?
It's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, listen.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is this. And I know, and I understand.
If I can add to what Eric was saying, not only do they need independent funding to be funded by the people so that they can do a better job of representing the people, they also have to have moxie, kahunas. They gotta have the balls to stand up to people who are bringing in and introducing stuff that is not going to be what these guys are sworn into. They're sworn to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States is clear. Support the general welfare. Secure the blessings of liberty. You know what? You're not supporting the general welfare when you're gutting out the process or the policies that keep people safe from disease. It's more than being a politician than keeping our general defense from foreign invaders, but it's part of the policy to keep the general defense and secure the blessings of liberty and support Americans by keeping them healthy. This isn't keeping us healthy. Those acts didn't keep us healthy, and nobody stood up to them.
Did you just see?
So listen, that makes sense. So that means that a part of the question of the first part is to vote them out. The second part is to select people who are not being funded by the parties or by corporations, only independent supporters. The third part, which can be a part of, how will you handle an emergency situation, and what is your plan? Because it seems that people are elected who don't have common sense when it comes to emergencies. They're the first ones to be scared and to pull the covers over their head and saying, look, I'm proactive and I know how to solve a problem.
Well,
and
Diane, listen, I don't think that, look,
get.
Here's the thing. Let's be clear. I don't think that I think that it's not a matter of being scared or not being scared. It's about what is your central focus? What are you looking to protect, right? So when you elected officials in office, if their first instinct is to protect big business, if their first instinct is to protect Wall Street, if their first instinct is to protect pharma, if that's their first interest, then they shouldn't be there. Their first interest should be to protect the people. You see, so it's not about being afraid. It's about who is your master. And what I'm saying to you is this: if they've been accustomed to taking money from all of these industries, then we know very clearly who they're going to serve. So when we look and say, well, we want you to serve us, but they've not leaned on us for any kind of financial support or anything else. They've taken money from everywhere else. Why do we expect in the 11th hour, when we need them, that they're going to be there for us? They're going to be there for who's taking care of them. One hand washes the other, and both hands wash the back. And their back is being washed by corporate America. That's what's right now. And we just need to cut it all loose. I mean, we've had conversations about moving big money out of politics. We've talked about publicly funded elections. All of those things are critical, because when you don't have it, the lifeline for a politician is Wall Street. That's it. I mean, I can't make it any plainer than that. And so we have to cut that lifeline. We have to cut that lifeline.
It makes a lot of sense. So, on a local level, there's been a lot of craziness going on with those who are in leadership positions, trying to ramp up their own type of, or rather, not ramp up, trying to interpret the laws the way they want to. So there's a Union County mayor Garwood, Miss Sarah Tedesco, who wanted to issue a declaration of emergency on Monday. I'm sorry, I got a police going by. Who wanted to issue the declaration of emergency on Monday to respond to this coronavirus, stating that shoppers were restricted to go to the supermarket on even and odd days based on their last names. And she got a call from the Attorney General that afternoon on the following day, as well as the Chief of Staff from the Governor's office, saying you can't do that. So I don't understand as to why she would think that would be appropriate, but she tried to do it. They stopped her. And what some of the grocery stores in the town stated is that they had a 2-hour window where they were allowing customers 55 and older to come and do their grocery shopping to give them time to come out because they are more likely to be sick or infected, so that they would be amongst less people in the grocery stores. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it is disgusting that, and I talked about this a little yesterday, disgusting that, that we throw our most vulnerable to the curb, right? And, you have folks bum rushing these stores, taking out 3-4 times as much toilet paper as they need and other kind of critical supplies that are needed. Amid the idea that we need to have this distancing in order not to contaminate one another in the event that we may be carrying the virus and be asymptomatic. And so now when you have these senior citizens who are in they're in that protected class, right, of citizens who are most susceptible, they can't even get into the stores, and nobody, and you have to actually legislate, or you have to have somebody step in the middle of this and say, you know what, we're going to carve out time that as a society, we're so barbaric that we don't think to take care of our older folks like that. But I'm glad that they did it. I think it's important. Carve out that time, allow them to go in without any stress to get the things that they need, let them get back safely to their homes, and let them adhere to all of the safety measures that are being put in place by local, state, and national authorities.
Right. Right. Now, also there has been, and I've posted it on my Facebook page, I've gotten over 8,000 shares to let people know that if you're going to stores, local stores, whatever the store is, and they're doing price gouging, that's illegal and to be reporting them.
You got how many shares?
Over 8,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because basically it just gives you the number to the Department of Consumer Affairs and their phone number, and saying if you go to a store price gouging to report them. There was an incident in Jersey City, and Jersey City mayor cracked down on it and fined the store for overcharging for bottled water, and the store got hit with a $10,000 fine instantly.
Good.
So you absolutely should be letting people know. I know somebody else told me in another store they were in, the Poland Springs were like $57 a case, and they took a picture. I said, report them. And that's the same whether you go to the gas station and you're buying gas, whenever the state is under the emergency and businesses up their charges more than normal than they should be, you have to report them, because that's price gouging, and it's illegal. So, yeah. So, there are things that people have to be aware of, too, because, like I talked to people on Saturday, toilet tissue is gone everywhere, but the soap is piling up on the shelves. I'm trying to figure out, you're wiping your behind, but are you using soap and water, too?
Well, but I tell you, Diane, they're nasty. I told you they were nasty. Diane, didn't I tell you they were nasty?
Oh,
listen,
they're gross.
on that, we're at 12 o'clock. Listen. I gotta call Facebook. I gotta try to figure out why they're trying to shut us down. But listen, guys, I appreciate you all tuning in and staying with us. Please go. I think we tried to restart 2 or 3 times. Maybe you could piece together some of the stuff that we talked about. I'll read the threads. We'll see what's going on. Stay indoors if you can. Stay away from people. Wash your hands. Keep your hands away from your
soap.
face. With soap, yes.
20 seconds. The Stevie Stevie Wonder version of Happy Birthday to You or Mary Had a Little Lamb. Sing it while you wash your hands.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm exhausted. Today.
You ought to be.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you, America.